Chapter 1 begins on a rainy Friday evening when Aisha almost cancels her blind date for the third time that month, exhausted by awkward conversations, shallow expectations, and the silent pressure from her friends who insisted that this one is different. She arrives at a small, dimly lit café wearing a simple coat, emotionally guarded, and determined to leave early if the man turns out to be another disappointment, and that's when she notices him, Daniel, already seated by the window, wearing worn shoes, a plain jacket, and an old wristwatch with a cracked strap, quietly sipping tea like someone who has learned patience the hard way. Her first instinct is judgment, not cruelty but resignation, the quiet sigh of someone who believes life has once again ignored her preferences, yet something in his calm eyes unsettles her expectations. Their conversation starts stiffly, but Daniel listens in a way few people do, not interrupting, not impressing, just absorbing every word as if it matters, and slowly Aisha finds herself talking about things she never shares, her fear of ending up alone, her frustration with superficial success, her dream of building something meaningful that actually helps people. Daniel doesn't brag or pitch ideas, he talks about failure, about sleeping in offices, about losing people who mattered because he chose work over connection, carefully omitting the part where those offices belonged to him and those choices made him one of the youngest CEOs in the country. When the bill arrives, Daniel hesitates for a fraction of a second, then pays with cash, apologizing with a soft smile that makes Aisha feel unexpectedly guilty for assuming anything about him. Over the next few weeks, they continue meeting, walks instead of restaurants, street food instead of fine dining, laughter instead of filters, and Aisha notices something strange. Despite his poor lifestyle, Daniel never complains, never envies, never doubts his worth, and people around him treat him with subtle respect, like they sense something she doesn't. When her friends warn her that she's settling, that love won't pay bills, Aisha defends him for the first time in her life, realizing she's fallen for the man, not the image, and that terrifies her more than heartbreak. The turning point comes when Aisha faces a crisis at work. Her startup idea is stolen by a bigger company, leaving her devastated and ready to quit, and Daniel shows up unannounced, not with money or solutions, but with clarity, walking her through strategy, contracts, leverage, and negotiation with the precision of someone who has done this 100 times, and when she asks how he knows so much, he only says, "I've been on both sides of the table." Days later, Daniel invites her to what he calls a small meeting, and Aisha walks into a glass tower where executives stand when he enters, addressing him as Sir, and in that moment, the truth hits her like silence after thunder. This poor man she judged as the hidden millionaire CEO everyone talks about in business magazines, the man who wanted to be chosen without his wealth, the man who tested the world and found her. She feels betrayed, embarrassed, angry, and small, all at once, and walks away before he can explain, believing she was just part of an experiment, but Daniel doesn't chase her with excuses. Instead, he gives her space, knowing that trust once broken must be rebuilt slowly. Weeks pass, and Aisha learns the full story through actions, not words. Daniel quietly funds a legal case that helps her reclaim her idea without revealing his identity. He mentors her team anonymously, and he never once asks for credit, and when she finally confronts him, he tells her the truth plainly. He hid his wealth because he was tired of being loved for numbers instead of character, tired of being admired but never understood, and when he met her, he wanted to know if she'd walk away. When the illusion cracked, Aisha realizes then that her own assumptions were the real disguise, and love, like truth, often arrives wearing ordinary clothes. The chapter ends with them standing at the same cafe where they first met, rain falling again, but this time she reaches for his hand, choosing not the CEO, not the money, but the man who sat quietly and listened when he had everything to say, and as the screen fades, a gentle voice reminds viewers that real stories like this aren't about riches revealed but hearts awakened, and if this story made you feel something, hope, curiosity, or belief in genuine connection, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because the next story might just change the way you see love, life, and the people you almost judged too quickly.